she was in full tantrum mode. They're like, yeah, we're going to build tents. And she's like, I'm not building my tent next to Florian. He's a bad influence. And I don't want to sleep out here next to him because he's not my friend. Sorry, Stacey. But I don't want to sleep next to them because I hate him. And everyone's like, oh my God. Okay, move your tent over. Go somewhere else. So she refuses to help Gino.
Listener discretion advised. Adult language and mature content.
Welcome, everybody. This is Two Queens, One Screen Podcast. I am Keeley.
And I'm Jen.
Thank you for returning, or this is your first time. Welcome, everybody. Jen, how was your week?
It was good. It's been a long week. I got in a fight at book club, but other than that, it was good.
Oh, that's a fun sentence. I got in a fight in a book club.
Yeah. So I'm of an age where that's what I do now.
Oh, man, don't mess with her. Oh, get it. So last week after we recorded, Jen suggested I start watching Traitors. And I have messed with watching it. So we're late. She and I are late to the game, everybody. My husband has been watching Traitors for the last, 2 seasons. The third season just started. Yeah.
Steve's been watching it and he didn't make you watch it with him?
No, I poo-poo him. He says it's so great. Keeley, watch it. And I'm like, you're stupid. You're stupid.
Can I just say, that makes me feel so good. That means he told you it's good and you didn't believe him until I told you it was.
100%. And he gets furious at me. Furious when I'm like, okay, I'm watching it. And he was like, who the fuck told you to watch it? And I will, whatever. I'll say, okay, Jen. And he was like, so fucking Jen told you to watch it. And you just click and you immediately watch it. I've been telling you for 2 years to watch it. And you're like, no, I'm not watching that. That's stupid. Yes, 100%.
That tickles and delights me. I feel so good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. So I've only seen this season, the current season, and you've already surpassed me.
Well, I started this current season, season 3. Mm-hmm. You don't really need a context. You don't have to start with season 1. I figured. So I binge watched, I don't know, the 4 or 5 episodes that were out for season 3. And I could not stop because I loved it so much. So I started season 2 because there's obviously the 12 episodes are out and I love it so much. A lot of these people on all the episodes, I don't know because I don't watch Survivor. I don't watch a lot of the other Real Housewives show. I have watched Big Brother before. I don't watch all of them. What were the other shows? Anyway.
The Bravo shows. So this season, they have Tom Sandoval, obviously, who is fully beefing with a girl named Chriselle. Is that her name?
Yeah.
I don't know who she is, but she's like, hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm friends with your ex-girlfriend. And then she goes out of her way to just make his life hell. And I don't know what she's from, but her hats are fantastic. And I appreciate that she's on the show. And then there's some Real Housewives, and like you said, Survivor. I don't know any of these Survivor people.
I don't.
Big Brother. I didn't watch Big Brother. I don't know who they are. Yeah. But those shows, I know it's all about having those connections and being sneaky to win, which is also the basis of Traitors. Yeah. There's a Bachelorette on there. I've never watched The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, which seems if you know anything about me, that is something I should be indulging in, but I know that it would take over my life. The way that the shows that I'm already watching consume me, if I got into The Bachelor, I would be ruined. I wouldn't be able to be a wife and mother because I would just be a Bachelor fan. So I am choosing not to imbibe in The Bachelor consciously. That's a choice that I'm making. There's also, I think someone from, is it Summer House? Is that what she's from? Sierra?
Yeah, Summer House. Yeah, Sierra. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
And then there's a Bella And I say that as in, it's Nikki Bella.
Nikki. Mm-hmm.
Nikki, who was in wrestling. Fun fact, I used to watch a ton of wrestling. I'm not a fan of the McMahons. I do like AEW, though. And I like New Japan Wrestling. If anyone's watching those, I would love to talk about that, too. But I don't know that I'm going to be able to get Keeley into that. But yeah, she's in it and she's great. But I honestly started watching it because Tom Sandoval's in it and I just want to see people be mean to him. And it is 100% that, which has been great so far.
Well, and he walks around and looks lost, or it looks like he's really trying to figure out what's going on and he's really enthused and he's listening and it is fucking hysterical. It is hysterical to me. And the one day he shows up at the breakfast and he's got these giant pit stains.
Oh my God.
And he's sweating. And it is 6 a.m. in the morning. He's doing cocaine. The man.
Okay. Yes. Thank you for saying that. So Chriselle was on Watch What Happens Live, which is where I get all of my news. And Andy Cohen was like, what was going on with the pit stains? Was it very hot? And did you hear what her response was to that?
I didn't.
Okay, so she's asked directly about Tom Sandoval's pit stains and if it's really hot in the castle, because they're in a Scottish castle, supposedly owned by Alan Cumming. And Alan Cumming is in these gigantic over-the-top outfits, and then he has like a Spitz, a dog that is also dressed up in matching outfits, which is delightful. Her response when asked about like, is the castle like hot? And she's like, no. I think that he had just maybe had a lot of sugar that day. And she like very, very smoothly makes reference to probably he's on a lot of cocaine, but she never actually says it. So...
It was amazing.
I don't know what she's from. I really should Google it, but I'm just very much enjoying her. Although she also had the moment where she felt energies and she was totally off. Because it's people, there are traitors and then there's faithfuls. And it's like, who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? The bad guys are pretending to be good guys. And you have to find out who the bad guys are. Yeah. And everyone's lying to each other. Yeah. And she thinks that she knows and she gets it wrong. And she goes against her own friend. It's great. It's just the amount of crying that happens for no reason on this show. It's fantastic.
I love it so much. Yeah. In the end, you're supposed to win a bunch of money, which is fine. They do all of these tasks, right, to win pots of money, and it goes towards the end. And Alan picks traitors, right? And the group doesn't know who they are. And the traitors every night murders a person. Faithful, if you're not a traitor, you're a faithful. And so these people murder somebody in the middle of the night. And then the faithfuls have to figure out who the traitor is. And these people's brains just go cuckoo through the day. They absolutely spin out of control. And it just cracks me up because someone will look sideways at another person and they go to round table and they're like, you wore blue today and I think you're a traitor, and the whole table erupts and they just banish them and kick them off the show for no fucking reason. And it makes me laugh. And other times they have a very good point, like when they banished Bob the drag queen. So Bob was,
he was so good too. I'm sad.
I love him. He was from RuPaul Drag Race and he was a traitor and he did his damnedest to try to not get found out, but he was over the top with trying to control all of the games and the players and telling people what to do. And people were picking up on that. And then in the round table, he was trying to point the finger at other players saying, oh, she did something suspicious or he did something suspicious. Other players would pick up on it and be like, oh yeah. So then they would vote that person out. And then people would pick up on it. And then I get that, right? That was good. But other times they just lose their mind and they'll vote for no reason.
She looked when we said, and it's like somebody was just picking their nose, not paying attention, and they're traitor.
Yeah.
It's watching these people get so paranoid during this game where they just feel insane. They just feel crazy. And you're like, you're on a TV show hosted by Alan Cumming, but their emotions get so intense. It's so fun. So yeah, I do really want to go back and watch previous seasons. I know New York from I Love New York, Flavor of Love is on. I know that Jax was on. Actually, I think whatever season Jax is on, you're not watching the one that he's in.
No, he's in season 1. I'm watching season 2.
But that was the beginning of the end for his marriage with Brittany.
Yeah.
Because he used her as an excuse, her medical situation as an excuse to leave the show, but then found out that she was fine, but kept telling everybody that she had a stroke. She's like, that's not what happened at all. Yeah. I am going back as like my nighttime relaxation show. I am going back to Vanderpump Rules, and watching season 1 of Vanderpump Rules is giving me such life, and I sleep so well. I went to bed last night immediately after Frank and Jax Taylor got into a fist fight at the belly dancing place in Las Vegas. Simpler times, right? Yeah, why is that sweater so tight? And why does he not have anything under it? How is this only 10 years ago? Looking back at the fashion that we had, remember those big necklaces that we used to always wear?
Oh, God,
statement necklaces? That was only 10 years ago.
I love
15 years ago. Oh,
so good.
All right. We should probably get into the meat and potatoes of what we want to talk about tonight.
Right. So we're going to do The Last Resort Season 2, Episode 9. They have named it Nice Guys Finish Last. Why?
I cannot figure out why they would call it that.
I don't know. I have feelings.
Who are they referencing?
Who? Are they referencing Brandon? Are they referencing Gino? If they're referencing Gino, I'm going to drop kick someone. Just roundhouse you right to the face. Like, no.
They can't be referencing Brandon, who was also my first thought. But what we learned is, picking up from last week, I had asked you, do you think Brandon's going to get laid? And you said, yeah, probably. And I was like, yeah, I mean, at least a BJ, because they did a handshake on it. And we see the episode open with, well, a few things happen, but I just need to jump ahead to this. Brandon is very excited because Julia kicks everybody out from the party at the end of the night, and she takes him into the room, and she's like, I said we would do this. Let's do this. Shut the curtain. I was like, ooh, that was kind of hot. And then he like gets up and he starts kissing her, and then we find out that he fell asleep.
He fell asleep, but he woke up and he vomited. And then he went back to sleep. So he booted, he tried to rally, but then he went back to sleep. So, I mean, poor guy. Poor girl.
What is his drunk nickname again?
Joseph, his middle name.
Oh, Joseph.
I know. God damn.
He's sabotaging himself.
He is. But at least he didn't blame it on her. You know, that's a good thing. Yeah.
So, well, one mystery solved.
Right. Oh, hell.
I feel like because they literally split this party across 2 episodes, I feel like it's all blurred. So this is another episode where we start off the episode at the party, and that's like part A. And then part B is that they then the next day go to another therapy thing. So do you want to just knock the party out?
Yeah, let's do that.
They started, the last time that we were there, we were talking about Natalie going, where's Josh? What did Josh say about me? And everyone going, here's what Josh said about you. And she gets to hear all of this horrific things that he's actively telling all of these people about her. I think she just was like kind of bummed out, and everyone's kind of gently trying to rally around her in this moment. Yeah. I don't know if it clicked for her then, but she just kind of was like, but where is he? I think a lot of people's opinions kind of shifted because at this point they'd all been annoyed by her this whole time. But then they're seeing how Josh is behaving and what he's doing to her quietly on the sidelines. And I think you kind of see everyone go, weird, actually. This isn't all her, maybe. So I thought that was vindicating for her in that moment.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and Benny gave her a little bit of hope. He said, well, when I talk to him, he says he loves you and He wants to have a relationship with you. And poor Natalie says, well, 1 out of 4 is pretty good, right? God, poor Natalie.
Gino lies through his teeth. Well, he hasn't really talked to me about you. But he wouldn't be here if he wasn't trying. Which just totally glazed over the fact he's not there anymore. He left.
In between the sheets, we see James, the therapist, watch that clip of Natalie talking to the group, saying all these horrible things that Josh said about her. And he says, look, we are seeing this push and pull of their relationship. And we see one partner becoming so overwhelmed that they have to leave. The other partner just going, what's going on? I don't know what I'm doing. And he says, if one partner needs space, that partner says, right, I need to walk away for 5 minutes, or I need to walk away for 30 minutes, and I need to set a timer and I will be right back. Yeah. You don't just ghost your partner and never show up. You don't ghost your partner and never tell them when you're coming back.
I thought that was such a great piece of advice.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really common for people to be like, I need to walk away from this. Which is, in most cases, if you're too heated or you're overwhelmed, walking away is such a great thing. But just to leave and then not come back, and then no one has... Of course Natalie's acting insane because she has no idea what just happened. You're just gone. Saying like, hey, I'm going to be back in 10 minutes. Or, can we talk about this tomorrow?
Yeah.
I love you. This sucks. Let's have a conversation about it tomorrow.
Right.
When I'm not so heated. Oh,
Yeah.
James doing the good work. God forbid he be in the room with them to tell them that.
That's what I thought of. When he's talking, I'm thinking, why haven't we seen you, sir, do therapy with them? And you already know this. And we, as the viewers, already know this. As a couple watching them, we should already be knowing this. And I kind of had a little bit of eye roll.
Hopefully Natalie and Josh will watch that and learn something about it. I mean, however, I will tell you, watching them at the party... Everyone in that room, I think, at least the dudes, you saw them shift. Because there's that moment where everyone was trying to, and we had talked about it a little bit last time, but they go even farther in this episode where they're trying to get Gino and Jasmine to resolve some of this. Everybody wants them to figure it out. Everyone is trying to support them and help them through this. She's saying, I love you. I want this to work, but you don't give me any affection and I want that. And he goes, well, I'm not going to. You don't get to say that. I don't want to give you any affection right now. And they're like, well, what is it? All the guys are asking, like, what is stopping you from having sex with your wife? And he's like, well, we need to not fight for like a month. I'm sorry. That's insane. I am happy to say that I am happily married. I don't think I can go a month without ever having a disagreement with Matt. Matt and I are going to disagree. That's just part of being two human beings that live in the same house. And he wants to not fight at all for a month. And she's like, we've gone several days without having a disagreement. He's like, no, we haven't. So any rubs him the wrong way, he restarts that imaginary clock in his head, that timer that he expects to meet a certain amount of time. So he's setting unrealistic expectations for the relationship. And he's like, we need to do this and this and this before we can move forward. And it's like, well, she can't move forward without some show of good faith. And he's giving her nothing. And she's like, well, you get to go look at porn and masturbate. And you think that's okay? And he's like, yeah, occasionally that's fine. And she's like, okay, well, I need a person for my sexual needs to be met. So I should get to have an open marriage. And he's like, no, absolutely not. I don't know if I see a correlation there. What did you think of her argument for that?
I wrote down, why is it okay for him to watch either other couples having sex or watch people doing a sex act? Why is it okay for him to do that? And why is it not okay for her to go actually have sex? I don't understand the difference. He's doing it constantly. Don't tell me that he's doing it once in a while. I'm going to tell you the man is doing it every single day, if not multiple times a day. And yes, I understand the difference between watching and being physical. Don't come for me. I get it. Mm-hmm. But he's literally using sex as a punishment. Yeah. Even Ari picks up on that when they pull her aside after this whole fiasco. And because Benny was doing that to her, she's the first one out of the group that picks up on it and says it to her face. That's not a therapist. Mm-hmm. But why is it okay for him to do that, to watch porn, to masturbate, to do all of these things, and she can't have an open marriage? She can't just go and have sex with someone else. She wants to be with him. She wants to stay married. I just don't understand the difference. I know the therapist watched it and he said, whoa, this is a huge thing. I want to take a pause. I think people should stop. This is super emotional. This is really deep. We need to figure this out. And I get that. You're right. You know, sort of surface level. This is nonchalant and we shouldn't take it for something big that it is. But this poor woman has been tortured and punished for I don't know how long, probably years. I don't know how long she's been in Michigan with him. And all he does is deflect. All he does is tell her no. Mm-hmm. He turns everything around on her. He says she won't do the work. He says she won't fix the core problems. What is he doing? What is he doing to fix anything?
He takes no responsibility.
Right. 100%.
Like, calls him out on, he's like, no, I didn't. No, I'm not. You did this. Do I think Jasmine's a lot? Absolutely. But I think he is 100% taking intimacy away as a way to punish her. That feels like a big jump, but isn't it like over like a year since they've had sex?
At least.
So it actually doesn't seem like that big. It's not brand new. This is like, he's not, and we've just seen, he doesn't want to hug her. And he's like, she came in, she's like, I wasn't even being sexual. I was just trying to give him a hug. And he was like, you were giving me sexual advances. And she's like, no, I really wasn't. I just wanted to hold you for a minute. I just wanted you to hold me. He's like, no, don't touch me. Mm-hmm. And you see everyone in the room go, oh, this might be him for the first time. Again, because she's loud and abrasive and reactive. Everyone looks at her and feels bad for him without seeing she's being reactive because there's something that's being done to her. The therapist said that she has a lot of inner child trauma. That is why everything is so close to the surface with her, and she will have these big responses. She will laugh if something's funny. She will cry if she's sad. She will yell if she's mad. It's right there. But that also looks pretty genuine. Whereas Gino, I think they're in a Sprinter van, and they're like, Gino, just have sex with your wife. Yeah. Pop a pill and just do it. Yeah. And he's like, I'll pop a pill and take care of myself. And we're like, that's fucking weird. Yeah. Right? Like, that's weird.
Even the boys said that was weird.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
If you're just taking care of a physical need, why are you also taking a pill for yourself? Maybe I just don't understand enough about how those pills work, but that just seems weird to me.
I completely agree.
So, Gino. I can't with him. But the group genuinely tried, and what James, the therapist, said in Between the Sheets, because he's not there in person, they're all trying, but this isn't something the group can help them fix. This isn't something fixable. This seems like way more broken. Jasmine is like, he's here, and his new friends and how they see him is more important than actually working on this marriage. And he's already said, I've already lost him. Why am I trying? Why am I putting forth the effort? It all dawns on her and she's like, I give up. This sucks.
Exactly. He constantly says he's not working on our core problems. Mm-hmm. She's not putting any effort. He even said out loud, there's no emotional connection with her, which I think is even bigger than her saying, I want to have sex with someone else. Mm-hmm. To me, that's huge. Then he tries to turn the table and say, well, if I've said I wanted to have an open marriage, she would get mad at me. He just does this huge deflection constantly. And he has done nothing. He has done nothing since they've been there.
There's a couple of the times when they did the sex therapy as a group, you saw him forget for a second and he got real into it. Was that just to impress the guys around them? He even says, I'm the oldest guy here. I kind of needed to put on a show. And that sucked. But then later on in the room when they were doing their homework, he got into it with her. And then changes his mind again. Why are you like this? I think he just likes how it feels to have that control over her.
Oh, I completely agree. And then everybody leaves, and then we see them back in the hotel room. Oh my God.
He's like, I want to sleep in the bed. You said you weren't going to sleep in the bed. I want to sleep in the bed. I'm too mad. And you're like, you're just making it harder and harder and harder. It's not something he wants to fix.
No, he's completely selfish. What kind of man are you that you say you want the bed? You're not a man if you're letting the woman sleep on the couch day after day after day, and you're acting like a petulant child and you're throwing a tantrum because you want the bed. So she gives you the bed. And then he turns it around again. He deflects again and says, well, does she not even love me? What are you talking about?
I'm rejecting you. I'm rejecting you. I'm rejecting you. I'm rejecting you. Why aren't you trying?
I don't even know what to say. He plays and throws these pity parties for himself. There's literally no one in the room to listen. Does she even love me anymore? No, she probably doesn't, because you're doing all of this to her, because you're literally torturing and punishing her. What's going on? The man is a monster. I've said it 100 times. I'm going to say it 100 times more. I don't know how she can do it day after day.
Yeah,
it's so sad.
I think it's sucky and it's weird. So as awkward as they were at the party, one of the things that surprised me, we talked about last time, Benny was there. He was just there to have a fun time. Oh, yeah. Ari shows up a little bit later.
Yeah.
I think dressed like Stephanie Tanner from Full House.
It's so true.
Someone told her it was a costume party, I guess. I don't know what was going on. She was very supportive of Jasmine after the whole group tried to have a conversation with her and Gino, and it just fell apart. And she's like, no, I see what's going on. You're not crazy. He's doing this to you. She was great. You know I'm not a fan of Ari. She was great in that moment. And she and Benny were like cuddled together next to each other during the party while everyone was having those conversations. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Because they're not good, then they're at the party together and they're sitting there nicely. We couldn't get anyone else to sit there nicely together.
Right.
And then also at the party, Stacy comes. Stacy was the beginning of the end of that night. Before she got there, she just is scolding Florian because Florian was such an embarrassment at the pool and how he acted was so embarrassing. And she's sick of his behavior. So she's got to go back to the party to apologize for him. Yeah. She goes to the party. She's like, I'm so sorry. She cries a little. She's like, he shouldn't get to talk to you like that, Jasmine. And Jasmine's like, you shouldn't have to put up with this. I'm sorry that you have to put up with this.
Yeah.
Which Jasmine's not wrong, but also Jasmine's just very anti-Florian. So it's the wrong person to go to for that conversation. It was just going back to what you had mentioned last week about their age difference, Stacy and Florian. Stacy was scolding him like he was a kid.
Yes.
And then he's sitting there like he's still wasted and he's still on the respect everybody train. And he's like disrespecting your husband like this for
making whistling and beeping noises. I mean,
oh yeah, I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
But he was not in his right mind.
No.
But they were not good in that moment either. It was just a weird...
And James, the therapist in between the sheets, he was watching that clip and he watched Stacy come back and say, oh, I forgot something. And James paused and he turned around and he goes, she didn't forget anything. She wanted to go back. She wanted to see if he was going to do anything. She wanted to say something to him. She wanted to have this interaction with him. And I believe
she was giving him an opportunity to fix it.
Yep. I completely agree with that.
It was sweet. You know?
Yeah.
You're like, oh.
Yeah. James said, they've been married for 10 years. They're not really going backwards. They're not really going forwards. They're just kind of stagnant. They're just kind of in this middle. I'm not quite sure what they're doing. But I see more and more that she just mothers him. She talks to him like a mother. She scolds him like a mother. She yells at him like a mother. all the time.
It was uncomfortable. And Jasmine screams at them a lot that she's not going to put up with his behavior like Stacy does, and she's not going to deal with a petulant child. That scene felt exactly like a mom yelling at her teenager.
Yeah.
So everyone, I think, Ari and Benny seem to be the best of the night, which feels insane to me.
Yeah.
And then, Rob was there without Sophie, but they had an okay evening after their big tumultuous sandbox therapy. But he went back and it seemed like they were probably okay. So just a weird night. That party set everything off weird. Unfortunately, we have another trip that off-site, off-resort therapy that they've got to get in a Sprinter van for, which is the bane of my existence. I only want to see housewives in Sprinter vans after this. But as everyone's loading up, they're getting told, all right, they've got to pack a bag for an overnight trip. Everyone's loading up into the Sprinter vans. And Josh shows up. What kind of car? I don't know anything about cars. Do you know anything about cars?
I don't know. I tried to pause that several times and blow up my screen to see what kind of car. I tried to Google it. I tried to look it up. And it just said rented luxury car. It just said he rented it. And then, but in the show, Brandon said, in between the sheets, Brandon said he owned it. So I don't know. Florian said
Rob made a joke that it was rented.
Yeah.
And, which I'm wondering if that's the secret. Like, there's some secret that Josh has. Like, that's why he's so withholding, is he doesn't want anyone to see. And I think it's that he's secretly poor. And even if that's not true, I want that to become a thing that goes around.
Yeah. I have no idea what kind of car that was. I don't know.
But it looked expensive. It looked intense. At first, everyone's like, oh my God, look at that car. And then they're like, what the hell is he doing? He's making this big entrance. And another reason to hate Josh. These people are on 90 Day Fiancé. Do we know who they are? Yes, of course. This is not Brad Pitt. This is not baby Tom Cruise. These are not super crazy celebrities. It's so funny to me because Natalie tells a story about they had gone out to dinner in LA and paparazzi found them and was taking pictures of them. In my mind, I was going, why on earth are paparazzi chasing them in LA? Like, of all the people in LA, they're going after Natalie and Josh. And she's like, no, I think he called them. He called them to come take pictures of us.
Yeah, of course he did.
He is so thirsty. All of these guys on this show, you're trying to impress these people. These are the people who you're like, I need them to see me in my flashy car.
Yeah.
Benny, you need Benny to look at that car and go, oh my gosh. You need Florian to be like, holy cow. Gino to go, oh, I hope he unbuttons a button. Why are you doing this?
Right. This is the same man that shows up in his, flannel and his hey dude shoes. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, sir? I don't. Who are you? No.
So dumb. So dumb.
Yeah. But Natalie says, look, he's showing off. He didn't text me that hey, I'm coming back, which is relevant. She's right. He didn't text her and say, hey, I'm showing up. Hey, I'm coming back. And she's over it, obviously. Poor thing. And she says, he comes in and out of my life, just like he comes in and out of therapy here, which I have a bone to pick with that. And he says, he treats me like a disposable convenience that he can toss aside anytime he wants. That poor girl is finally picking up on what he's putting down right in front of her.
I mean, he's showing everyone. What I think is really interesting is, and this is exactly what we've been saying the whole time, and it's just more and more evidence to back us up in he uses her flaws to hide his sins. Then he gets in the vehicle and he's there with the guys. He just starts telling them all about sex therapy and how she wants all this stuff from him and how he can't believe that she's intruding this much. He just looks like such an asshole.
Yeah. But they did ask him, where'd you go? Where were you? And he said, well, I needed some time away from Natalie to disconnect.
And then he talks a ton of shit about her, and they're like, then why did you come back? He's like, I came back for you guys.
Well,
the fuck?
My problem is every single one of these guys wants some time away from their spouse or girlfriend to disconnect, but these dumb assholes have to stay in their hotel room with their wives. You stupid motherfucker, leave the resort. You get to drive away and leave. I don't understand the difference. Why, again, does he get to leave? And these poor saps have to stay with their wives or their girlfriends. Even Benny and Ari have to stay together.
Yeah. He's refusing to commit.
Hello.
To the show, to the therapy, and to her. It was like another light bulb moment for a lot of these people where you're like, this doesn't really add up. Why are you coming to couples therapy to hang out with a bunch of dudes?
Yeah.
What?
And then he says,
that doesn't make sense.
She's just not going to change, but I missed her. So I came back. What? What is seriously wrong with you? No.
No, that's not how it works. And Sophie, I think, was in the sprinter with the guys. If you're trying to make her look bad, he's making an actual effort to make her look bad to these people. He's telling stories about her. He's telling stories about how she was jealous when they went to dinner in New York with a bunch of the other 90 Day Fiancé people. And how she got jealous and overreacted and threw a temper tantrum or something. Yeah. And no one asked for that story. He's just trying to make himself look good by making her look bad. That's not how any partnership should work. Like, I hope no one would want to make their partner look bad to other people. There's a difference between venting about a partner to your friends and him just trying to make her look like shit, which he's trying to make her look like shit. Oh, yeah. Sophie goes, he's actually making himself look bad, because if this is really what's happening, why are you with her? Why are you doing this if you also want to make her look shit? He's just so slimy and gross. I hate it. Yeah. So they end up getting out again into the middle of nowhere. It's beautiful. Yeah. Out in the middle of nowhere, Arizona, just cactus and desert and really, really pretty. God forbid they do anything just at the resort. And it is the new therapist that they brought in. We're not going to see any of the actual therapists. We're just going to see the new therapist that they brought in. She did the sand therapy, and she's this spiritual healer / hypnotist. So the first thing that they're going to do is have all the couples build tents together, put their tents together. Some people it goes great. For some reason, Natalie and Josh killing it with these things, right? For some reason, their tasks together, they do super, super well. And they're a great team. Josh said that he's a great team because he leads and she knows to follow. When she doesn't get that she needs to let him lead and she tries to lead, that's when they have a problem. And she goes, no, we both lead because we're on a team and that's good. And he's like, no. When you let me lead you and you follow, that's when it's good. But she also uses this as an opportunity to say that, they did such a good job working together on building this tent, much like with their powers combined, if they could work together, their child would be a god.
Oh, Natalie.
It would be beautiful and smart and cunning. And you're like,
oh, Natalie.
Jeez Louise.
Oh.
She reverts right back into, she's pissed at Josh and she cuts a little space from him. And then they do an activity together and she's like, we should have babies. Yeah. This will be great.
Right back in it.
She's in. She's fully invested all over again.
Yep. Jasmine is being petulant, sitting in a tree, and she refuses to help Gino, which I think is hilarious. I think it is very funny. The therapist goes over and says, are you going to go help him? And Jasmine's like, nope. He said he could do it himself.
She was in full tantrum mode. They're like, yeah, we're going to build tents. And she's like, I'm not building my tent next to Florian. He's a bad influence. And I don't want to sleep out here next to him because he's not my friend. Sorry, Stacey. But I don't want to sleep next to them because I hate him. And everyone's like, oh my God. Okay, move your tent over. Go somewhere else. So she refuses to help Gino. Gino, who does help him, is Florian. Just goes and he's helpful and he's sweet. And she's like, if Florian builds that tent, I'm not going to sleep in it. Oh my God. And then 2 minutes later, they get the tent together and they're all kind of like walking around. And then they're like, wait, Jasmine's gone. And then no one can find Jasmine. And that's because Jasmine's hidden in the tent.
Yeah.
That she refused to get in 2 minutes ago.
God.
It's just...
awesome.
Right. And so it's Jasmine looking crazy because she's so upset. And then everyone else looks normal just because she's having such a big reaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
It was pretty great. But I wrote down that Sophie is begging Rob to help, which was interesting to me. I mean, he's sort of letting her help, but she's like, why can't I help you? I just want to help. Yeah. And he's just kind of waving her off and sort of saying it was weird.
Well, he's super proud of being an outdoorsy guy, right? Like, he's talked a few times about, like, the kayak thing. He's like, this is mine to win because he loves to kayak. He loves to be outside. Mm-hmm. So happy to be in nature. And at one point, the therapist said, we're not going to have our phones with us. We're really going to disconnect and reconnect with ourselves and with nature. He's like, I already put my phone away. Mm-hmm. I'm already great about this. And he's just very confident in his outdoorsiness and his connection to nature. But once everyone gets their tents together, they then do a little hike and they end up next to a lake. The therapist, who is also a hypnotist, is like, I'm going to hypnotize you all. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then takes them through this process of slowly hypnotizing them. They're all sitting in these chairs. They have to put their hands out and they have to feel heavy and they've got their eyes closed, and she's talking about how they're tired. I'm sure there was a lot more to this. I've never been hypnotized. Have you ever been hypnotized?
No, I have not.
Have you ever seen anyone be hypnotized?
Yeah.
Do you think it's real?
Yeah, I think it's real.
Okay. I'm skeptical. However, I have a friend who swears that she was hypnotized and saw a past life and it was really intense and incredible. I don't know if that's the setting for it. I think you have to be really in the right headspace to be hypnotized.
Sure. If
that's a real thing.
Yeah.
And then also, I don't think that everyone was actually hypnotized. I tried to see...
I wrote yes and no. Yeah, who was...
Me too! But I also couldn't tell. Obviously not hypnotized, Josh. Mm-hmm. Obviously not hypnotized, Brandon. Mm-hmm. Also, I don't think that Sophie was hypnotized because a couple of times she was opening up one eye and looking around. But there were a couple that were like really into it. Stacy, very, very into it. Ari seemed pretty into it. And Natalie, I want to talk about this. Natalie, very into it.
Yeah.
And apparently Josh described it as he had a hard time getting into it because Natalie was so into it that it sounded like she was having an exorcism next to him. Because she was kind of moaning and groaning and moving around. Mm-hmm. In the Between the Sheets says that she's actually very familiar hypnotism, that she believes in it and she's studied it. And he's like, well, it's because she's a witch. And then they start talking about how she's intuitive and she'll say something crazy and then it actually becomes true. Which I do think that does exist a little bit. Plus, I have fully convinced my children that I'm a witch.
Nice.
It's like I'll just know things. Mm-hmm. Like, I know you don't have that homework done. Not because your teacher emailed me, but like I feel like I feel like there's something missing. What could be missing? Is it science related?
Yeah.
Also, one time I was at a party for a coworker who had was having a wedding party at her house, and there were 50 people there. And there was another coworker that was also invited with her boyfriend, and I hated her boyfriend. As Matt and I walked into the party, he was standing on their deck. He called me the Russian. I'm not Russian, but he always called me the Russian because he refused to learn my name, and he says I look Russian. And he yelled across her lawn. Everyone at the party heard. He was like, "It's the Russian!" And I glared at him and the deck collapsed and he fell and had to go to the hospital because he fucked up his shoulder. And I'd like to think that that is
nice.
If I have powers, I'd like to think that that's what happened.
Nice.
So I truly believe that I have something.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what it is, and I can't totally control it, but I may also be a witch. Do you have any witchy moments?
I don't have any witchy moments. I have ghost moments.
Oh. Ooh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like at your house?
Not at this house yet. Past houses.
Someone's got to get murdered first.
Yeah.
Watch out, Steve.
Yeah. Not at this house yet. I don't know. This house might be clean. We'll see. My house in Caldwell and my parents' house in New York, I had a experience out there. So
that's fascinating. I'm very interested and excited. Okay.
Awesome.
So Natalie is a witch, and so am I.
We're all not surprised.
It makes sense that Natalie's a witch.
It does.
It was funny because she got really excited about it in the after show, and she was like, oh, why haven't I thought about this? I should hypnotize Josh, and then he'll want to have a baby with me and get married and move me into his house.
Yes.
And she, it had never occurred to her. She's the worst witch. If it never occurred to her that she could do this, why has she not done this before?
I know, right?
That's he doesn't stay around long enough to get him totally hypnotized.
Well, she needs to have a coven, first of all. I don't think that other witches would want to be in her coven to make that happen.
No, she pisses too many people off.
Right?
Oh. So they're hypnotized, and the thing that she's walking them through is she wants everyone to think of a time that they hurt their partner and to really process that while they're hypnotized, which is the most Heather Gay exercise, right? We can't get away from it.
Yeah.
And so you see, everyone kind of sitting very uncomfortably, and then she wakes everybody up. She starts talking to people, and she goes to, was it Julia and Brandon?
Yeah, she went to Brandon first, and he told that stupid story about the key.
Which was so bullshit.
Yeah.
So anyone who doesn't know, here's why it was bullshit. He was like, well, I thought it was a nice thing that I was doing, but I guess I do see how that was bad. And it's like, yeah, because you read the millions of social media comments where they're like, this fucking idiot. He buys a house and he gives a key to his mom, who has no boundaries and makes his wife really uncomfortable. Yeah. And he gave her a key. It was probably purple. And he's like, that really hurt my wife, and I should have known better, and I feel bad about that. Mm-hmm. Look at me, A+ on this task. And Julia's like, that didn't really hurt me. It was annoying, but I wasn't hurt.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay. And the therapist is like, great, okay. How did you hurt him? Julia is just MVP of the season. She cannot go to therapy without just spiking the ball. It's intense every time. She's like, well, it's important that we're being honest, right? Remember 4 years ago when we went to Russia so you could meet my family? Remember how bad I was that whole time? Well, it's because I had met up with my ex and we were thinking about getting back together and we kissed. And they're like, oh, you cheated on him? And she's like, I didn't cheat on him, but I kissed him. And Brandon, he's like, no, that's cheating. And he's just so upset. They kind of go into it a little bit in between the sheets, but that's the end of the episode. I don't feel like we got a lot of this. We got a little bit in between the sheets and a little bit in that. But Jasmine says, I think that she should have taken that to her grave.
Yeah.
Once a cheater, always a cheater. And now he knows. I was like, he didn't know that you hurt him, so was he hurt them? If a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, I don't think that was the right time. I think neither of them understood that therapy that they were getting. She just punched him in the gut. Do you think that the kiss was cheating?
So in a couple of things. In between the sheets, Julia says Brandon sort of knew that had kind of happened already. I didn't like that. Yeah. So she said that
he could sense that there was something wrong. So Brandon has no concrete evidence, but he should have felt that there was something off.
Yeah. So that's kind of why she said, that's why I said it there. We're in therapy. That's why I said it there. Rob, Rob makes this horrible comment in between the sheets. I think Rob's a hypocrite. He just pisses me off.
What was it that he said? I don't remember this.
He said, why would you tell him 5 years later? Why would you bring that stuff? Why would you bring old stuff up? Why would you stir the pot? Just leave it alone. Because he's sitting with Brandon watching the clip. Brandon's clearly upset and uncomfortable watching the clip.
Yeah.
That made me uncomfortable. It made me upset. And I think Rob's a hypocrite. And I'll tell you why. He threw a tantrum. Rob threw a tantrum. Remember? Mm-hmm. In the beginning of the show when he found out Sophie had sex when she was 14 with her ex-boyfriend and she didn't tell Rob about it.
Right.
I'm sorry, right? No, you're a friggin' hypocrite. When it doesn't happen to you, it's okay to say, well, you shouldn't bring it up. But when it happens to you, you want to know about it. So, yeah, no.
Well, because he wants to be able to use that against her.
Right.
Ugh.
Right. So just keep your mouth shut. Just shut the hell up. Here's the thing also. Either way, if Brandon found out that this happened and Julia didn't tell him, he would be mad. Mm-hmm. Brandon finds out in therapy, he's going to be mad. Either way, he's mad. So just tell him. That is my opinion. Just tell him. Either way, he's going to be mad. You're in therapy, you might as well tell him.
I think that was probably the wrong time to tell him.
Sure.
I also think the kiss, not good. The fact that she was probably engaged to Brandon when he went to Russia to see her family, and the conversation that she had with the ex where she was considering getting back together with the ex, that is the egregious cheating to me. Is it great that they kissed? No, that's bad. I think it's a way worse that she was thinking about getting back together with her ex. A little tryst, bad. I'm going to break up with Brandon and go back with you, 1,000 times worse. So when she's like, it's not cheating, it was a kiss. I'm like, no, the conversation that you had with your ex, that was the cheating in my mind. In the end, she didn't. This was 4 years ago. She made the choice to stay with Brandon, got married to Brandon, moved to the U.S.
Yeah.
Is working on her marriage with Brandon.
Yeah.
I feel like it's got to feel fresh because he just found out about it. Hopefully they can process it and he can move through that. It's like, it was 4 years ago. That's not something that's actively happening. But what a wrench to throw in. I wish they'd gotten other things sorted out before he had to learn about this. He hears that and goes, maybe I don't want to be with her.
Sure.
Maybe this isn't workable. I think she threw another log on the fire instead of worked on putting them out. She was like, well, let's just get everything out there now. I don't think it was helpful. She's had that weighing on her and she's felt bad about it. But there are the times where you're like, I'm going to tell you this so I can feel better. I think telling him hurt him more in that moment. Does he need to know at some point? Probably. Is it helpful in that moment? No.
But I think any moment, whether they're alone with a therapist, whether they're alone on the couch at home, whether they're on a TV show, he's going to be hurt, magnified by 1,000. I don't think it makes a difference. I think he's going to be hurt either way.
Oh, well, absolutely. Yeah. He's going to be hurt either way. I just think they're on such shaky ground.
Yeah.
That it's like, ugh. I wish things were a little stable, a little bit more stable.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
before she
that's
told
all I'm
him.
saying.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had sorted out something else, and things were a little bit better between them before they had this
I got you.
Grenade thrown in it.
I see. Okay.
Got a lot of metaphors for what she did. But yeah, so we will get more of the conversation next week that they have sorting that out. But in between the sheets, you see the therapist go, yeah, I didn't see that coming. She was not prepared.
Yeah.
To have to help them work through that moment.
Yeah. Ugh. Brandon's body language was all like the Hulk. He just completely changed. He puffed up and was not breathing. He wasn't looking at her, and it was not good.
I felt just so sad for him in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, and she knows. You don't feel great for her either, because she knows. And
well, she's in her mind, she's being honest. Yeah. She's coming clean. Mm-hmm. She's being honest. Yeah. If she's got to tell him, in her mind, she's like, well, the therapist is here and we're in a good space and we're working on things. Yeah. That was rough. Can you hear these cats?
I can, but it's okay.
I'm sorry. They're bouncing off the walls. I have them for like one more week. The other big thing is it looks like Brandon's going to hopefully Darcy's going to come. Maybe Brandon's going to be talking to his parents about this.
Yeah, I think so.
We're bringing everybody else into it. And I still feel like we have less sorted.
Oh my gosh. I know.
So they've been there for a week and a half, something like that. And I don't think that anything's been resolved.
No.
I don't think anyone's any better off than when they got there.
Yeah. No therapy.
This has been a roller coaster.
Has happened. I don't think. Everybody's even more angry than when they got there. Well, we figure it out in between the sheets, but I picked up on Sophie's posture and attitude the whole time. Like in the Sprinter van, she wasn't talking to anybody. And then, she was not really getting along with Rob trying to do the tent. And then we see in next week's episode, I guess, we see that Rob apparently has been texting someone this entire time. Yeah. And that's why she's upset.
Yeah.
We don't know what that is. She has his phone. Yeah.
So this is 2 years ago all over again. Mm-hmm. So the thing that he's like, I've been trying to make up for that ever since. Mm-hmm. And he's doing it again while they are at couples therapy. He's being flirty on his phone with other women.
And she is devastated, clearly. And then in between the sheets, he's gaslighting, saying it's Jasmine's fault. So basically saying, because Jasmine and Sophie are treating him badly, that it's their fault. Give me a break. Mm-hmm. But whatever. So that's coming. But now we know why Sophie was upset and not talking.
Right. I completely forgot about that. Fucking Rob.
He obviously has not grown up and or matured that we thought he did in the beginning. And he was acting so weird, like dancing and just being really happy and over the top. It was just suspicious to me.
Do you know what it gives me is Jax Taylor vibes.
Yeah.
This very, what do you mean, guys? I'm in a great mood. Everything's great. And it's like, no, you've been doing coke and you slept with somebody in Vegas. The way that he was behaving at the campsite, he was just so smug.
And just gaslighting everybody into not thinking we've seen and heard everything that we've seen and heard.
It's nuts.
No.
It's wild.
It's not good.
So, fucking Rob.
Oh. And then, and Gino won't share what his...
Oh, yeah. His deep, dark secrets.
Deep, dark secret, as in Jasmine, I guess, assumes that he cheated, or that's what he was thinking about.
So I watched this with my husband, Matt, and he's like, I don't want to be hypnotized. Matt doesn't ever want to be sedated. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to say. And I was like, I think it's fun. Mm-hmm. I've been sedated a few times in the last few years, and I always just wake up crying and usually talking about how a nurse was mean to me. Matt's like, what if I say something horrible? And I was like, you won't. It's usually funny. You're very even-keeled. I was like, what is your deep, dark secret that you're afraid that's going to come out? And he's like, I don't actually have one. But like, what if he's afraid that he has a deep, dark secret that he doesn't even know about, I think.
Ooh.
I know.
I think he'd probably be afraid he would say something mean about someone he loves. That would be the worst he could do because he's so kind. That's what I think.
Oh. That's so nice. What would you say? What do you think would come out during your hypnosis?
I already say mean shit about people all the time, so it wouldn't be that.
You don't have that filter.
I have been sedated lots, and I usually wake up laughing and want something to eat. I would probably usually say something about the nurses or the doctors usually probably try and hit on people. That's usually what I do. I like to do that.
You are fun. Mm-hmm. One day you and I will have drinks together. I want to see what tipsy Keeley is like. How did we not do that last time? All right. Well, yeah, that's all I got.
Time to go.
It's late, everyone. Next week, we'll also have to talk about Traitors. I'm really excited to see who gets murdered next. Everyone go watch Traitors just because it's so worth it. It's so fun. It's easy to watch. Yeah. You don't even have to understand what's happening. It's just random. Super random. I don't even know who they're going to murder tonight. I can't even begin to think who's going to go. I don't know. I hope it's not Bob. Bob Harper? Bob H. Yeah. How different is he? I love Bob Harper. Side note. He's totally different than when he was on The Biggest Loser. Oh, God, he was one of the trainers. Mm-hmm. And now he's this, like, very tattooed, mustachioed guy. I do love him. I love him. Okay. You'll just love it. It's so good. It's so much happier than fucking Rob. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. I miss you. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Bye. Bye-bye.